Hello ladies and gents, welcome back to the channel, Mantalk Productions here. Today I'm going to be bringing you the second video in the recent DC-3 investigation, I suppose you could call it, on my channel. I started with purchasing the Aeroplane Heaven DC-3 a while back and not being terribly happy with it. I flew it around for a while, waited for them to patch it up a couple of times, and then I made a video, and I always meant to come back and make a separate video about the Manfred Jahn freeware DC-3. This is the PBR version. I don't think this is the latest version of his PBR iteration, but it's pretty recent. Today I'm flying with the New Zealand Air livery in well, obviously New Zealand. It's a rainy Queenstown in the morning. There you go, New Zealand National Airways Corporation. So that, I believe, was the predecessor to Air New Zealand. So there's a few things about the freeware DC-3 here that I really like, and I feel in certain ways excel and are better than the Aeroplane Heaven version. And then, just before making this video, I took the Aeroplane Heaven version of the DC-3 out for a flight again, and there are certain things about the texturing and certain things I felt I liked better than the freeware version. So I'm still kind of 50-50 at this point, but it just goes to show that, like, if I feel this freeware package holds up against a payware PBR version of a DC-3 that a company is asking money for, it's kind of like, well, why on earth would you not go with this PBR version? But yeah, there are strengths and weaknesses, so we'll get into that. Let's just jump into the cabin. You can see, first off, in the rain, we now have the A2A rain effects put on by. I remember A2A made their rain effects free for the community to implement into their own freeware add-ons and stuff. And for some reason it looks like the droplets are actually falling at a slightly wrong angle. Maybe that's the wind. That could be maybe strangely a wind component. 10 knots from the right hand side. I'm not sure that would do it, but anyway. So here we are in the DC-3. A few things, as you can see immediately, a few differences in comparison with the Aeroplane Heaven DC-3. A lot of these textures, if not all of these textures that you will see, are photoreal textures, which means they essentially, the way they designed it is they actually took real photographs of the various parts inside a DC-3 and then stretch them over a 3D mesh, and that is how you get these very, very nice realistic looking textures of customized pieces. It kind of works up until a point, because when you zoom in you'll see, like, you can start to see the pixelation of the actual pixels of the photos. Also there's a bit of a UV unwrapping issue there, but we'll pass by that. Also, even though it's a freeware, they've managed to seal up the cabin properly. So I'm really happy about that. Yeah, they've managed to seal up the cabin properly. Okay, I mean, it doesn't have a 2D cabin, but and it might look a bit rough in the corners where you shouldn't really be looking. But you know, guys, remember again, it's freeware. It has a lower bar, but it surpasses that low bar very, very well, and it passes it so well that it's essentially up against payware. So that's what we're comparing it with today. Anyway, so the Sperry autopilot in the DC-3 does not work. It's inoperative. They have not modeled that yet, which is why you access the autopilot and other functions of the aircraft through the Shift 4 2D panel. And this autopilot we're going to be using today is, I believe, based essentially off of the default flight simulator autopilot that comes with P3D and FSX. So it's pretty standard. It it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's cheap and cheerful. It works. Yeah, that's what I can say about that. Although I really have been coming to appreciate this 2D panel, as it is your go-to 2D panel that you can tweak pretty much everything about the aircraft. You know, you've got stats on the flight, you've got your engine parameters and your information, the autopilot, the avionics, all accessible from here. This version of the DC-3 has a transponder, which is a lot of fun. If you remember my previous video where I took it on VATSIM, it had no transponder, and the VATSIM controllers, of course, weren't quite sure what to make of that. So you access all of the nav and comm panels and the various things from underneath the steering wheel from the yoke. Lol, steering wheel. What? It's been a long day. You do have a distance DME nav marker, so there is that. So it has slightly, and again, only slightly more advanced avionics than the Aeroplane Heaven version. I don't believe it has the bubble sextant add-on built into. Actually, might it? Does it? No, it doesn't. Okay. So Shift 2 and Shift 3 will bring up some stat pages. Shift 4 is the 2D panel we just saw, and Shift 5 is very cool. Now, Shift 5 is like a set of interactive checklists. It's almost like FS to Crew for a freeware add-on. And you're getting all of this for free, and it's really cool. I'll show you. On the 2D panel here, below the miscellaneous tab, you have buttons running along the bottom there. The first one is the before start checklist. Second is the engine start, the taxi, takeoff, landing, shutdown. So if I click on the before start checklist, you can see it pops up. If I click it again, no, I think if I just click Shift 5, it disappears. What we're going to do is we're going to go previous. Yeah, okay, so just hit the previous button until you get all the way to the front. And in the front, what you want to do is turn stewardess on and callouts on. Obviously, paratroopers are for
Good morning, Ernie.
The military version of the DC-3.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, boys. Here's your coffee.
Thanks.
So as you can hear, that was the first officer talking to the captain and the stewardess, as if it's like a captain of the ship or FS to Crew add-on. Which again, guys, freeware. There's a reason why they say this is one of the best freeware add-ons in the entire flight simulator industry. So this is really cool. And the fact that you have to pay for something like the Aeroplane Heaven version and you don't get any of this kind of stuff is just like, wow, okay. Anyway, so our flight, where are we flying today? So I am in Little Nav Map. The one thing I like about Little Nav Map as an add-on is that it actually portrays you on a three-dimensional globe in comparison with Plan G, which is just a flat map, and that's very helpful whenever you're in these high southern latitudes or quite far north. Your north, south, east, west just does not match with. It just doesn't line up with true north and true south. So you can see there, north is off is look like it's northeast, but it's not. There's true north where the white diamond is, and then that's actual magnetic north. That's what I meant. True north, magnetic north. Okay. So we are down here in Queensland. Queenstown. Sorry, Queenstown. We're down here in Queenstown, and we're going to be taking off, routing northeast, or actually northish, lol, all the way up to Wellington. So that's going to be the flight. Usually the 2D, the side graph usually shows me my terrain clearance, but for some reason it's not doing that for me today. So I'm not quite sure why I'm not seeing any terrains. And this is probably a route which I really should know about that, because particularly in this southern area, this is a very mountainous area. So we'll see what we see. Anyway, so. I have Project Fly running. This is the Project Fly V4, so I'm going to be running the flight for Project Fly as well. Also, I'm going to be running with, let's pull up PFPX. Let's start a flight with career mode on. Now, did I add New Zealand Air? Yes, I did. There we go. We are going NZQN to NW. Is it NZWN? NZWN. Let's just double check that. Yes, NZWN. Flight number is AAZ. AAZ or ANZ 633. We're going to be cruising at 10,000 feet today, which is pretty much as high as I ever want to be in the DC-3. Flight time is going to be based on 350 nautical miles. It's saying 3 hours and 54 minutes. So let's just put that in, 3 hours 54, and see what happens. Takeoff time in, let's say, 15 minutes. Aircraft type, DC-3. My voice is starting to go now. And let's say we take about 24 passengers. Next, we don't have... I thought Siri just talked. My iPad across the room likes to randomly... Siri on my iPad likes to randomly start talking to me. We're not going to be running with any of these modern conveniences. And I'm going to hit start. And the passengers are going to load. So while the passengers are loading...
We are ready to go when you are.
Okay, so...
On behalf of the cabin crew, I'd like to welcome you aboard our flight. As you find this...
Yeah, so I have PFPX set to instantaneously board all of my passengers. Usually in realistic mode it will actually take time and each passenger will individually board. But I have that set just because whenever I fly a larger aircraft it takes an age to board people. Anyway, let's run into the pilot's checklist. Let's go to the first checklist. Now you can see, because this is a dynamic checklist, it actually knows what has what criteria have been filled already and what have not. So in a quick and easy glance down that
Before start checklist.
There we
Parking
go.
brake set and checked. Doors closed. Battery.
Okay, so I clicked the top of the checklist there, and it dynamically ran through the first two things that had been done, and it got to battery. Excuse me. It got to battery, and then there's a pause because I need to actually turn the battery on, and then it will continue. I can see Nancy.
Battery.
Yep, Nancy is on board, and I don't want to set cold and dark. So let's
And make sure that all
let's go back in and turn on the battery.
Upright and lock position for departure. Cabin crew secure doors for departure.
Where is the battery? Actually, that's a good point.
On.
There we
Ground
go.
Power. GPU disconnected. Generators.
Okay, generators are here.
Both on.
Both on.
Beacon.
Beacon. Let's turn on the beacon. Where is my beacon? Oh, that's not clickable. Where is my beacon? Actually, that's a good point. Where is my beacon? Let me just...
Is on.
Ah.
Lights.
Oh, I see.
Checked on. Cabin signs.
So, fun thing with the checklist as well. If you've forgotten where something is, and you're at that point in the checklist, all you need to do is click where the tick would be,
Is on.
and it automatically does it for you. Which is pretty sweet. Ignition starter.
Magneto.
Push that in.
Checked both off.
Checked both
Fuel
off.
quantity.
Right.
Main. Check.
He's going to check the fuel. Or actually, if I press the tick...
Left auxiliary. Check. Right auxiliary. Checked. Right main. Check. Fuel selectors. Checked. Carb heat. Checked on cold. Trim. Set to 0. Cowl flaps. Full open. Mixture. Idle cutoff. Throttle. Throttle is cracked. Prop control. Full forward. Flight controls.
Okay, this is cool. Watch this. I'm going to manually manipulate the flight controls.
Elevator full down. Elevator full up. Ailerons left. Ailerons right. Rudder full left. Rudder full right. Checked. 4 start checklist complete.
All right.
Okay, let's start engine 2.
That's cool, right? I'm impressed. This is freeware, guys. I'm impressed. Let's go to the next checklist. Okay, so for this checklist, we need to make sure that the battery voltage is fully charged, because obviously starting the DC-3 on a dead battery does not work. So, first things first.
Okay, starting the right one. Fuel pump. Starter. Cranking the right. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Mags on. Both on. Mixture. Checked. Prime.
Don't think that worked quite the way I expected it to.
Prime.
Keep pressed until engine fires. Oh, I think do I actually press the engine starter?
Engine 2 starting up.
Oh, there we go. Okay, actually, stupid of me. Both engine 1 and 2 are selected there, you see.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the front of the aircraft for a safety
Engine
demonstration.
stabilized.
When the seatbelt light
I did that wrong, but you get the idea.
Low and tight across your lap. To fasten, insert the metal fittings into one another. Tighten by pulling on the loose end of the strap.
Okay, you get the idea there, guys, but you can very dynamically, very easily run through that checklist and have the engines started up in no time. So we're just going to go to the next part of the checklist.
Nearest exit. In some cases, your nearest
Before
exit may
taxi
be behind you.
checklist.
If we need to evacuate the aircraft, floor-level lighting will guide you towards the exit. In the event of a decompression, an oxygen mask will drop in front of you. To start the flow of oxygen, pull the mask towards you. Place it firmly over your nose and mouth, secure the elastic band behind your head, tighten the straps if necessary, and breathe normally. Although the bag does not inflate, oxygen is flowing to the mask.
Wheel
If
jogs.
you're traveling with a child or someone who requires
Off. Before taxi checklist complete.
Alright, that's the before taxi checklist done. So let's just have a look at the way the wind lies. We could take off, we could actually take off heading north, so that's what we're going to do. Let's just reset chase plane and bring in my track IR. Again, track IR, come on, hello.
Please securely stow your personal items. Make sure your seatbelts are fastened and seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright position. We remind you that this is a non-smoking
Sometimes it doesn't start first time, I don't know why. It is a bit old in the tooth, but yeah, I see it and then it just disappears in the taskbar. There we go, okay.
Thank you for flying with us again, and we hope you enjoy your flight.
Off with the parking brake.
Ready to go.
And just edging forwards. Now, one thing about the freeware version...
Both engines are warmed up.
Yep, thank you. One thing about the DC-3 here, the freeware version, is that the ground handling is a lot more simplified than the Aeroplane Heaven version. The Aeroplane Heaven version has quite accurate ground handling. And what I read on the forums about this freeware version is that... Let's just put in one notch of flaps there. What I learnt about this freeware version is that by default it comes with a simplified ground handling physics config file for those people who do not have rudder pedals. But I have rudder pedals, and I'm considering downloading the custom config file that apparently I could find somewhere and add it into the installation, and then I would have much more accurate ground physics, ground handling with my rudder pedals for this freeware aircraft. So even though the base package might skimp on some handling physics and some details, but because it's a completely kind of open source freeware designed by the community project, these sorts of things just get done, and it's just done by people who do it because they enjoy it and want to create something amazing. So yeah, kudos to them for that. So okay, so the before takeoff checklist, let's just run through that.
Before takeoff checklist: mixture, auto rich, prop control, high RPM, trim. Set and checked. Flaps. Checked. Cowl flaps.
Okay, so as soon as we turn around here, we'll get these cowl flaps configured to trail. Just spin the DC-3 around and bring it to about there. Let's go to trail, which I believe is... Let's just zoom in here so we can see what we're doing. Oh yes, okay, so they don't physically animate around far enough, so what you have to do is in the 2D panel up next to cowls, you actually click that little plane icon and it sets them. Let's set the landing lights on.
Both on. Pitot heat. Checked. Fuel pumps.
Let's just make sure they're all sitting down. Yeah, they look sitting down. So fuel pumps, turn those on.
Tail wheel.
Tail wheel, let's lock the tail wheel now. And I can't remember exactly where the 3D...
Locked.
Ah, there it is, it's way under there.
Takeoff complete.
That's how you can learn really easily where various knobs and switches are, by actually clicking them in the checklists. Okay, so that is us. We are ready to take off, and then we can go to the after takeoff checklist. We can actually click on this little handy area here. They've thought of everything. We have a power chart. So for takeoff, we want brake horsepower of 1200, auto rich, 4800 on the climb, and then 2700 on the RPM, 46 to 48 inches of manifold. So they essentially want us to put our manifold in the amber, but I'm not going to do that. I don't really enjoy that, so I'm going to put my manifold about 41, 42 and max RPM. So, and we are mixture rich, we're not on emergency. So okay, just going to smoothly bring up the throttle now. Okay, about 42 inches set. Let's just close up some of these things. And soon, I think... Oh, I can feel that 10 knot crosswind. Bring the nose back. Yep. And soon we'll see these raindrops on the window all start to move out the way. There we go. That's 70 knots. The nose is starting to come down now. There you go. Look at those raindrops. Beautiful. A2A do the best raindrops.
V1.
V1.
Rotate.
Rotate. See, you can hear all of the call-outs as they should be done.
Positive rate of climb. Gears going up.
Gears going up. You see, all of the call-outs are done. This is essentially FS to Crew for a freeware package. It all comes free. And I got to say, the propeller animation effects there look much better than the ones in the Aeroplane Heaven. The Aeroplane Heaven is just this really slowly rotating blurred orb, but these actually kind of throb and flicker at the corresponding RPM, so I quite like these better. So 1200, what's that? Yeah, 12, almost 2,000 feet. So bringing flaps up now as well. And now I'm going to bring the RPM back to about 24 to 25. Just into the green, like so. And continuing the climb. Now, this is where we can engage the autopilot. I will just continue flying manual here for a little bit longer. Beautiful, beautiful. You get the nice sound, the three-dimensional sound as we come around the side. You can hear the throb of the engines. And then the dull throb on either side. There you go. So, goodbye Queenstown, see you later. And this, of course, is winter time down here in New Zealand, as we are having our summer in the Northern Hemisphere. So, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to... There's -3 carb air temperature. Got to pay attention to that. Right, autopilot. The autopilot is very simple. All you do to begin with is add in your altitude. Well, I'm just going to go straight to 10,000 feet. Heading, let's just go due north to begin with. And you can hit on and then hit altitude. And then hit heading and highlight those two, and it will begin climbing to 10,000 feet for you at a rate of 500 feet per minute. And it will hold 0 degrees, which is due north. But we don't want to do that. We want to go magnetic of 2.8. So let's select 2.8 in the box, like so. And then the aircraft should start turning for us. And we really want to pay attention to the clearance over those hills. So, yeah, so we've got a 20-knot wind from the left-hand side. So let's not go 2.8. Let's oh crap. Yeah, let's go 4.5. Rather than go out, fly straight ahead, let's try and go through this valley here to the right-hand side. Yeah, that let's call that 75 actually. Yeah, and not crash into that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. No, keep turning, keep turning, keep turning. My goodness. Lol. I meant to do that. I meant to do that. It's all part of the show. Yeah, I meant to do that. It's Indiana Jones style. That's the way they fly these DC-3s in Indiana Jones. So, one thing again about... Oh, actually, hello. All of the other liveries that I fly with this version of the DC-3, the PBR effects on the inside of the engine cowling look a bit weird, but that actually doesn't look too bad, that effect. Okay, going up into the clouds, this is going to be interesting. Yeah, I'm going to cut back across in that direction, so I'm going to come back to, well, what was that, 280? There's 2.8 set. Let's just make sure that our thrust is still set as nice and high. I want to climb as much as possible here. So we can basically close down the checklist. Now let's go back to the power chart. Max continuous, 2,500 on the RPM, 41 to 40. Okay. Max continuous, yeah, 41 to 42.5 on max continuous. So this thing is designed to be flown at 40 inches manifold, which is not usual for me. I'm usually down at 35 at max on aircraft like this, but here I am just surfing the mountain ridges. The only reason I'm allowing myself this close to the mountains is because I can see them. The second I get up into these clouds, I'm gonna be away from the mountains as much as possible. Okay, so yeah, we're up at 5,000, coming through 5,000 feet. Let's set standard barometric pressure, which is 2909 in millibars in inches language. We're definitely fast enough that we can add a few more 100 feet per minute, I think. Maybe 700 feet per minute is okay there. Yep, and now we're going into a cloud. So, but I think we're over the worst of the mountain peaks here. If we're not, then this will turn into a very different kind of video. Yeah. So yeah, as a piece of freeware, I think I'm really impressed. There are a few things that I would do differently. For instance, I would actually have the the windscreen wipers wipe the texture away, but they don't actually do anything. But at least they're animated better than the ones in the Aeroplane Heaven version. You remember the ones in the Aeroplane Heaven version don't connect the animation of the stop position and the animation itself. See? There, and it just stops. So it's actually coded to stop in its stopped position. Also, if I open the window, the raindrop effect is still there. But I'm okay with that based on the fact that I'm not going to ever open a window that's directly in front of my face while flying an aircraft. I think that would be a bit stupid. But there we go. So, there we go, folks. I'm going to climb up to cruise, and I will meet you back when I'm on approach in Wellington. And I will leave you with any last thoughts I have about the aircraft. I think just in wrapping up at this point, it's a lovely aircraft. I think for a piece of freeware, if anyone is interested in flying the DC-3, I would heavily recommend do not go out and spend any money. Download this, install it for free, fly it, learn how it works, learn the ins and outs of DC-3 flying, and then if you want something more, then you can always go and pay for it. But this, there's so little more in payware that you are not getting in this. That I think for those people, you know, who want to learn to get into flying vintage aircraft, this is the best. This is 100% the best place to start. I guarantee it. You cannot lose by flying this thing. So, there we go. Anyway, I will leave you and come back in the arrival. The only other thing I want to say just before I leave is thank you to those who recently subscribed to my channel during my last video upload, which was my little news blurb about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So my channel has now officially passed 6,000 subscribers, which is... I didn't expect to have that happen overnight. That literally happened last night, and I did not expect that video to have almost 4,500 views at this point within 24 hours. And as a result, about 95 to 100 people subscribe to my channel. So thank you guys. I just want to say thank you so much for thinking that this is worth watching, and I'm really excited about the new sim platform, and I look forward to flying in it and showing you what it looks like, and yeah, doing my normal thing, but in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. But until then, until then, of course, I will be flying stuff like this and more P3D version 4.5 stuff. So anyway, I need to go get a cup of tea because my throat is pretty much dead. It's been a long day. I will meet you back in on approach to Wellington. So I will catch you later. Hello ladies and gents, welcome back. We are just in the descent now, coming to within roughly 30 nautical miles outside the range of the ILS of Wellington. We've been traveling up the coast and just coming down through roughly 4,000 feet now. Yeah, 4,000, 3,000 feet. If I go over to our little nav map application, you can see where we are here, and here is the airport. Here's Wellington. So we're going to be approaching from the south. We have a wind coming out of the northwest, only 4 knots, so it's going to be pretty calm. And we have an ILS. Now we're going to want to tune up the ILS in our instruments. So when I mouse over it in little nav map, I get the frequencies. I can see the frequency for this ILS is 109.90. So let's go and put that in nav 1. Let's go 109.90, like so. And then after doing that, we should have we need to turn it on. Oop. Do we need... Oh, we're probably too far... Oh, obviously. I was wondering why I couldn't see the nav 1 gauge reacting, but we're definitely too far away to actually pick up the signal from the ILS. It's a very localized directional beam that comes from the airport running down the center line. And we can see also that the glide slope pitch is 3 degrees, which is standard for an ILS. And the localizer heading is 341. So if we come to our nav1 gauge, we want to put 341 in the box so that it's pointing in the right direction. And then as soon as we get within the within the range, if I just zoom down here, as soon as we get within range, we will see the localizer, which is that vertical needle, and the glide slope, which is the horizontal needle, and you'll see how that works. So coming down to 3,000 feet, we're going to hold at 3,000 feet, and you can see the autopilot as we hit 3,000 feet. You will see the V speed will go, will turn to 0, and the aircraft will flatten itself out. Because we're still on autopilot, of course, this is the one thing about this add-on that is not terribly realistic. You've got a very... So I put the nav1 gauge onto ident. Oh, no, we don't want to turn it completely off then. There we go. And you could actually hear that audibly come through. So you could actually go to mouse over the localizer, and you can see the Morse code. It's ... dash dash ... dash dash ... That is the Morse code identifier. So if you ever accidentally mix up your frequencies, you could always double check the Morse code identifier, and that's how you know exactly what you are pulling up in the box in terms of frequencies. So now you can see the localizer has come online. You can see the needle is showing that we are left of track. We need the needle to be in the middle, and that's how we know we're on track, on center line. I'm conscious that there has been an absolute ton of new subscribers to my YouTube channel because of result of the Microsoft Flight Simulator video that I did only like last night or the night before, and I'm still just in a bit of a state of shock, really, that so many people are just descending upon this channel, where I've just had such a small trickle of people in recent years. My subscriber count has jumped from like 5,900 to like 6,045 in the space of like 24 hours. So welcome everyone who is new to the channel. If you've made it this far in the video, I congratulate you. You will get to know me on my channel for doing very long, hopefully relaxing, very long and relaxed videos on all sorts of vintage aviation navigation and aircraft management across the globe, flying in and out of places that very rarely get these sorts of aircraft being flown on Flight Simulator. So anyway, so we're going to come up to the end of the localizer, and then we're going to turn almost due north and fly right the way down into land on the runway. Of course, at the moment I'm not flying online with any ATC or with any other aircraft, so I can basically do what I want for the moment, but I'm doing that on purpose for this evening, basically because, number one, there isn't any ATC on in the area that I'm flying, and number two, this video is more meant to be a look over the aircraft rather than flying it completely realistically in a kind of real life context. Okay, so I'm just positioning my feet on the rudder pedals. So now I have rudder pedal authority, and I'm just watching that localizer needle. And there is an arrow that's showing that we're flying towards. Let me just move my my viewpoint again. There's an arrow there that says there's to and from. You see, FR and TO, and the arrow is pointing to, which means that we are flying towards the nav beacon. And if it was lighting up the arrow next to FR, it would be we are flying from the nav beacon. That's how I think of it in my mind. So that's quite helpful sometimes, particularly in the middle of the night, or if you're in dense cloud and you actually have zero visibility outside the window. You can still fly the plane and you know exactly where you are. Also, there is a distance marker. There's a distance gauge in this DC-3, so I can see that I'm actually, again, if I just move my camera angle down, I can see that I am 16.1 nautical miles away from the nav beacon, which will be on the threshold. So I'm 15 nautical miles out from the threshold. And obviously, I would, in a real-life circumstance, have the transponder turned on, and you would have some meaningful squawk code to identify you to ATC. Okay, so let's just review our chart here. Not chart, our checklist. So the before landing checklist, we will be going mixture rich. So let's do that now, since we're down at 3,000 feet. So that's auto rich. Propeller control should be on high RPM. I'm not going to do that until I get to the end of the localizer. The cowl flaps are on trail, which is fine. The landing lights are on, the cabin lights are on, the flaps are not set yet, the landing gear is not yet down, but the tail wheel is locked. So it's just good to familiarize yourself with a checklist before you actually get to that stage in flight, so your brain flows along that information a little bit easier. Particularly when you're talking to ATC and you're trying to spot and visualize other aircraft around you and all of that jazz. It gets very, very hectic very quickly. Okay, so actually at this point I think I will put the props full forward. It's a bit of a contrary to your belief, but putting the propeller angle putting the RPM full forward to max RPM actually helps to slow the aircraft down in certain circumstances, and this is going into propeller physics and how propeller aerodynamics affect the aircraft and the speed and the lift and all of that, which is a whole separate video which we could talk about one day. But it's fascinating actually how all of that works. But when you understand it, it makes sense, and it's one of those things I love about flying propeller aircraft, is all those extra little things that you don't really have to think about too much when you're flying a jet.
Boys, let's do it again.
Oh, I can hear the stewardess say something to me just there, but I didn't quite pick that up. Okay, if we just zoom, yep, we're not far away from the end of the localizer now, so you should be able to see that needle begin to swing. Any minute now, that needle will start swinging down towards the center, showing that we're flying towards the center line of the runway. And you can see actually off in the distance, there is the airport, and there is the runway. So we're going to be flying to engage the localizer. The localizer is the runway center line that is extending out towards us. You can see the horizontal needle there is showing that we are above the glide slope. So at this point I'm going to turn the autopilot off, and I'm going to take manual control, and I'm just going to start nosing the aircraft down and pulling off the power. You can see we are a little bit fast. We're about 150 knots. So actually I could pull the power all the way back to about 20 inches manifold, and that will help us. Yep, there's my localizer needle coming in. If you watch the gauge, and just continuing to decelerate and continuing to lose altitude.
Final descent into your destination. Flight attendants will be passing through the cabin to collect any trash one final time.
Also watching the slip and ball indicator, which is very important in an aircraft like the DC-3. It's a big old bird that's made of it's heavy metals, and whenever you use aileron input, it starts to side slip very quickly, and that's just the shape of the aircraft and the speed of the aircraft. It needs more rudder input than some other aircraft. Big, slow, lumbering aircraft need more rudder input. Generally, that's the general rule. Okay, so now we're on profile. If you look at the nav1 gauge, we are on localizer and we're on glide slope, but we are coming in a bit too fast, right? So I'm going to start decreasing the throttle, but in decreasing the throttle, I'm going to actually start descending more sharply. So to counteract my descent rate, I'm going to just pitch up slightly. So I want to lose speed, but I don't want to increase descent rate. So I'm going to actually raise the nose, and that's related to angle of attack, which is an aerodynamic force. The force of angle of attack is the angle of the airflow in relation to the airfoil or wing. Again, another whole video. But I believe I cover angle of attack in my next upcoming PPL training video. Which is, I'm kind of in the middle of it, but I'm very busy right now with various things. I've got a couple of videos on the go, actually. Anyway, so I'm slightly to the right of the glide slope and slightly below, slightly to the right of localizer and slightly below the glide slope, so it's just make small adjustments. And the thing with flying a descent like this is that when you're following a localizer and a glide slope, there's some wind here. When following the localizer and glide slope, it's all about making small adjustments. You don't make big adjustments because you will you'll be off profile very quickly. And you can see actually I am below glide slope, so I'm using that to bring my speed back. Gear is coming down. I'm going to keep this trim attitude, and now I'm below flap retraction speed and gear retraction. I'm going to bring down my flaps as well. Very strange wind phenomenon happening where the aircraft's nose is kind of being so the wind is actually not pure. It's buffeting from different angles, and that's causing the nose to drag left and right. Okay, second notch of flaps. And as you can see, the before landing checklist, all of my criteria are now met before I land.
Auto rich, prop control, high RPM, cowl flaps, set trail, fuel pumps, both on, landing lights, checked on, cabin signs, check both on, flaps are set and checked, landing gear.
Here we go.
Green lights. Tail wheel locked. Landing checklist complete.
Over the threshold. And just flaring her out beautifully. She's just going to settle down. Oh, I misjudged that. There we go. I misjudged that. I thought I was much lower than I actually was. And I floated longer than I should have. But there we go. So now decelerating. I'm using the brakes. And I'm holding my elevators all the way back. Decelerating very nicely. And now we're down at a taxi speed. I'm going to raise the flaps.
And it's currently about 11 degrees Celsius. You can now use your mobile devices. Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete
That's what I
stop
wanted to
and the
do.
seatbelt sign is turned off.
There we
Remember
go.
to use caution when opening the overhead bins, as items may have shifted during the flight. If this is your final destination, we thank you for flying with us. If you're making a connection, we encourage you to check your itinerary to ensure a smooth continuation of your journey.
Okay. Swinging the aircraft around on the taxiway. Beautiful. Okay, so now we can run through the after landing checklist.
Okay, after landing checklist. Cowl flaps full open. Flaps. Flaps are confirmed up. Landing lights are off. Pitot heat
Let's turn those off.
checked off. Fuel pumps off.
Fuel pumps off. Trim. Oh, I have to reset this. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Set to 0.
There you go.
Tail wheel unlocked. After landing checklist complete.
Alright, after landing checklist is complete. Let's just find a spot to throw ourselves. I might go a bit further up actually this time. I've not been up here before. That's the after landing checklist. If we go to the next one, it's the shutdown checklist, which is the last of the lot. So let's just close that for a second and rock up to a stand. Beautiful livery though. I really actually like all of the liveries of this DC-3. Of all DC-3s look beautiful, really. I mean, we're really flying one of the most beautiful aircraft that mankind has ever designed. This, the Spitfire and the Lancaster are pretty much at the top of the list, and if they're not in your book, then you need a different book. So that's all I have to say. I'm not a massive fan of flying the Spitfire, or any Warbird for that matter, in a simulator platform where you can't actually shoot at anything. Because it kind of is like... It's a bit sad. It's just like flying around a Warbird when the Warbird has nothing to do. That's why I do my Warbird flying in IL-2 Great Battles. Okay, there's a nice looking parking space up here. We'll just plonk ourselves up here and just have some final thoughts and then call it an evening. Ah, this looks like de-icing. Yeah, these look like the de-icing pads, which that's the thing with that free-castering tail wheel. The DC-3 can be thrown around very quickly. Throw the tail wheel out quite effectively. Okay, so let's go for 75 November for the I think we can go for a free camera outside. There you go. We're going to stop right there. Pop on the parking brake. And throttles to idle. And then mixture to idle cutoff.
Shutdown checklist. Mixture. Idle cutoff. Magnetos and ignition master. Both off. Tail wheel unlocked. Parking brake set and checked. Wheel chocks.
Ah, wheel chocks.
Chocks are set. Lights. Off. Inverters is off. Avionics off. Generators.
There we go.
Both off. Cabin signs off. Battery. That's off. Shutdown checklist complete.
Alright, shutdown checklist complete. And there we go, guys. That is the Manfred Jahn, I believe is the way you pronounce it. The Manfred Jahn DC-3 freeware for Prepared 3D version 4 in the PBR version. That's what we were flying. Beautiful, beautiful thing. I really do highly recommend this. And having flown this side by side in context with Aeroplane Heaven's DC-3 that they recently released, I I heavily recommend you to fly this one first. If you're thinking of the Aeroplane Heaven DC-3, fly this first for a couple of weeks, get used to this first, and then go and fly the Aeroplane Heaven DC-3 if you feel like you still want it. That's what I would suggest. Don't do it the other way around like I did. I think you might realize you were not getting your money's worth for that. But there we go. That's my opinion, and I'm not paid by anyone to say it, and I hope I never am. But there we go. Okay. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. It's probably a long video by now already, so I'm just going to leave it there. But yeah, again, I'd like to just say thanks for watching, and for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Please make yourself feel at home. Watch some of my older videos; they're still there, and flight dynamics and flight theory don't really change too much. So even if we do have the new simulator, some of the theory, at least, I try to teach something. So some of those things are still true. The PPL training series, of course, is a lot more official and well polished content of mine, and that, of course, will remain true as well until physics changes, and let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. So, guys, thank you very much, and chat to you later. Bye.